Everyone froze when the wine hit the floor. The sound was soft, yet it sliced through luxury like a siren, turning laughter into stunned silence. Crimson liquid crawled over the marble like spilled blood under chandelier light. Jaden Miles, tall, brown-skinned, a waiter whose posture carried quiet pride, stood frozen among billionaires who looked at him as though he'd soiled their world. Ethan Cole, young, handsome, smirking, lifted a glass in mock sympathy. "Guess even your hands know they don't belong here," he said, voice dripping with polished cruelty. His table roared with laughter. Phones rose to capture the scene. Another rich man's amusement turned viral flame. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments, and if you believe in giving bullies exactly what they deserve, hit subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens next. Jaden knelt to gather shards, each reflection of his face cracked but calm. The manager rushed over, scolding loudly, desperate to please the wealthy. Jaden whispered an apology, steady, respectful, eyes down, but dignity unbroken. Ethan stood, brushing his sleeve like royalty. "You'll never serve my family again," he declared. The crowd murmured, their eyes on Jaden like spectators at a public burning. Yet as he rose, he smiled faint, almost invisible, but powerful. It was the smile of a man who already knew time had begun to turn. And then, soft as truth. But what happened next would change everything. In the narrow storage room behind the dining hall, the hum of wealth faded into the whir of an old refrigerator. Jaden leaned against a shelf stacked with bottled truffle oil, breathing through the sting of humiliation. His hands trembled as he wiped the last trace of red wine from his skin. Under the harsh fluorescent light, thin scars marked his knuckles, quiet reminders of the years he'd fought to stay steady. A flicker of memory rose, little hands forming shapes in the air, children laughing silently, and Jaden's voice guiding them through words only seen, never heard. Before the restaurant, he'd been a social worker for the deaf, teaching language that bloomed in silence. Budget cuts stole that world, but not his purpose. Every paycheck here went straight to one dream, his younger sister, Layla, in college, studying to become an interpreter like he once was. Across town, Ethan Cole scrolled through his notifications, basking in comments about his latest philanthropy dinner. Third-generation billionaire, influencer darling, the kind of man whose self-worth was measured by the spotlight. He filmed himself tipping valet attendants exaggeratedly, claiming to support the little guy. Followers adored his charm, never seeing the contempt behind the smile. His father, Raymond Cole, watched those videos in silence from his apartment uptown. Once a titan of business, now partially deaf, Raymond understood what his son could not. Power without empathy collapses quietly. Old-school decency had skipped a generation. Yet tonight, the family's worlds were about to intersect again, not through privilege, but through humanity. As Jaden hung his apron, a faint knock echoed from the corridor, the manager calling him back to the floor. He adjusted his tie, composed his breath, and stepped forward, unaware that his path was bending toward destiny. Outside, the restaurant doors swung open. Raymond Cole entered slowly, cane tapping the marble like a warning drum. No one noticed the old man's quiet arrival, not even his son. They had no idea who they were underestimating. The dining hall was alive again, shimmering and smug. Ethan Cole sat at the center of it, a wine-glass general surrounded by digital soldiers' friends with perfectly edited lives. The golden chandelier painted him in victory light as he bragged about stock deals, beach villas, and followers who adored his every move. Each time Jaden passed with quiet composure, Ethan found a way to jab. "Smile, it's free, though not your service," he quipped. Laughter ricocheted off marble and glass, slicing through quiet dignity like paper cuts. Jaden simply nodded, shoulders relaxed, collecting plates without a word. That silence unsettled Ethan more than any retort ever could. Across the room, an elderly man shuffled in, silver hair, polished cane, soft eyes scanning the scene. Raymond Cole. His son didn't notice. The billionaire father preferred corners and quiet, long retired from noise he couldn't hear anymore. He motioned toward a table, gently tapping the edge to signal for service. Most staff hesitated. No one understood what he meant. But Jaden did. He walked over and began to sign with careful grace, hands moving like calm water. "Good evening, sir. Would you like coffee or tea?" The old man smiled, face lighting like dawn after years of gray, responding in fluent sign. A few waiters froze mid-step, bewildered. Guests watched in quiet curiosity. The black waiter conversing without sound, his language turning silence into music. Ethan finally looked up. "What's this?" His smirk stumbled. "Wow, my dad's making friends with the help?" The room tensed, a hush falling like dust after an explosion. He said it loud enough to sting. Eyes darted between father and son. Raymond signed sharply toward him, 3 quick gestures full of disappointment and reprimand. The meaning was clear even to those who didn't understand the words. Ethan turned red, frustrated, pretending not to notice. "Yeah, whatever he's saying. You can stop the show, waiter." Jaden bowed slightly. "Just making sure your father is comfortable, sir." His tone was even, respectful, firm. Ethan's jaw tightened. He swatted Jaden's notepad from his hand. It hit the floor, scattering paper like fallen leaves. "Know your place," he hissed. The silence was heavier this time, thick, suffocating, electric. Raymond's cane struck the floor once, sharp and angry. Jaden crouched, collected his pages, and rose without flinching. He met Ethan's glare calmly, eyes neither pleading nor defiant, just steady, the kind of look that says you've already lost something you can't see. Rain began to whisper against the tall windows, faint thunder rolling behind it. As Ethan turned back to laughter that now sounded forced, the camera lingered on Jaden's face, expression unreadable, heartbreak and strength in equal weight. Then came the voice, low and certain. What none of them realized was what he carried. The restaurant glittered again, as if nothing had happened. Ethan's table had regained its rhythm. Candles flickering, wine poured, laughter loud enough to drown the rumble outside. His friends raised their glasses, making shallow toasts to wealth and good living. Jaden moved soundlessly between them, refilling goblets, eyes lowered but mind miles away. Rain traced silver veins down the wide windows, thunder grumbling beneath the jazz playing overhead. At the edge of the hall, Mr. Cole sat quietly, cane beside his chair, his gaze fixed on his son's showmanship. Every so often he shook his head, subtle but unmistakable, disapproving the arrogance that now defined Ethan. When Jaden paused near him, the old man signed softly, "Do not let them break you." Jaden nodded once. Across the room, Ethan noticed the interaction and frowned, not understanding, pretending not to care. He raised his voice over the thunder. "To power, best served rich," he joked. Applause, laughter, glass clinking. Then, mid-sentence, the chandelier light trembled. Ethan's words blurred into static as his father's face drained of color. A hand clutched his chest. The cane toppled, metal hitting marble like a gunshot. The old man gasped, eyes wide, struggling for air. Panic spread faster than the lightning outside. The guests screamed, chairs scraped, someone shouted for a doctor. Ethan froze, staring, mouth open, trapped between fear and disbelief. "Dad? Dad!" His voice cracked, but Raymond Cole could not hear him. Jaden reacted first. He was already moving before thought could catch up. Kneeling beside the fallen man, he pressed 2 fingers to his neck, finding the heartbeat faltering beneath trembling skin. His other hand began to move, fluid, firm, speaking in the only language that mattered. "Look at me. Breathe. You're safe. Listen to my hands." The chaos blurred into silence for the old man. All he could see were Jaden's gestures, strong and clear. Breathing steadied for a beat. Ethan rushed forward, face pale. "Let the professionals handle it," he snapped, trying to shove Jaden aside. "You'll make it worse." "There are no professionals here yet," Jaden said calmly, not looking up. He tilted the chair, began chest compressions between signed reassurances, each motion deliberate, confident, precise. "Stay with me, sir." His voice carried authority without arrogance. The guests stood back, shocked into stillness. Ethan's friends quietly lowered their phones. The urge to record vanished in reverence. Paramedics burst in moments later, their entrance barely disrupting Jaden's rhythm. He translated effortlessly between their urgency and Mr. Cole's confusion, his hands guiding through panic like a bridge of light. The old man's breathing returned, shallow but steady. As they lifted Raymond onto a stretcher, his trembling fingers found Jaden's sleeve. He signed one simple phrase, "Thank you." Jaden nodded, eyes warm, silent. Ethan watched, motionless, drenched in sweat and guilt as the stretcher passed him by. His father avoided his gaze, gripping Jaden's hand instead. Outside, rain hammered the streets, sirens flashing red and blue through the glass. The narrator's voice slipped through the storm's roar. "But storms break hardest before the sky clears. If you believe in giving bullies exactly what they deserve, hit subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens next." A week later, the Cole Foundation filled the city's grand ballroom with gold drapes and good intentions. The event banner shimmered under chandelier light, a night for accessibility awareness. Cameras lined the back wall, and smiling guests in tuxedos sipped champagne while posting captions about compassion. Ethan Cole worked the room like a politician, grins stretched wide, guilt disguised as charisma. To everyone else, he looked the perfect host, but every glass clink echoed with unease. His father's illness and the mysterious waiter who saved him had turned public sympathy into scrutiny. His PR team convinced him to invite Jaden Miles, thinking the gesture would look inclusive. Ethan had agreed with a dismissive shrug, never suspecting it wasn't corporate strategy but his father's personal request. Jaden arrived quietly, wearing a simple black suit, his presence understated amid glittering gowns. Whispers followed him down the marble hall, some awed, some awkward, but he smiled politely to each greeting. He wasn't there for validation. He stood near the back beside the stage where a teleprompter glowed softly. Ethan approached the podium, cue cards trembling slightly in his manicured hand. "Tonight," he began, voice smooth but hollow, "we celebrate equality, the power of communication between all people." His words rolled perfectly off the script yet landed with emptiness. Guests clapped reflexively. Then a soft thud echoed, the sound of a cane. Mr. Raymond Cole stepped into view, walking with deliberate grace, aided by one usher. His silver hair caught the spotlight. Ethan froze mid-sentence, surprise flashing across his confident mask. "Dad?" he blurted through the microphone. Murmurs rippled across the tables as the elder Cole raised his hand, not to greet, but to sign. His movements were fluid, commanding, language blossoming from silence. Gasps filled the hall. Few understood what he said, yet everyone felt the reverence in each motion. Without hesitation, Jaden stepped forward from the crowd, instinct guiding each stride. "Mr. Cole wishes to speak," he said clearly. The crowd parted. Standing beside the patriarch, Jaden translated aloud as Mr. Cole's hands carved poetry in air. He says, "True wealth is not measured in banks or buildings, but in those who listen without ears and speak without words." Jabanet. The audience stiffened, hanging on each syllable. Mr. Cole's gaze lingered on his son as he continued, signing with precision, and Jaden voiced the words that carried the truth. "I was given back a language I thought I'd lost. A stranger reminded me that silence is not absence, it's another way of hearing." The hall erupted in applause, camera flashes erupting like lightning storms. Flashback overlays showed Jaden in simpler days, teaching children to sign letters under the afternoon sun, guiding his sister's hands to shape her first phrase. His compassion had always been fluent. Back in real time, Ethan's confident posture fractured. He stared at the stage where his father and the waiter, his former target, stood joined in effortless understanding. Mr. Cole turned fully toward his son now, eyes glistening. The next signs came slow, deliberate. "Learn before you lose again." Jaden's voice delivered the words, soft yet final. Ethan's breath hitched, shame washing through him like cold rain. The applause dimmed, sound fading until only the weight of meaning remained. Jaden stepped back, blending into the crowd, while Mr. Cole grasped his shoulder in gratitude. Ethan lowered his head, tears gathering where arrogance once lived. The narrator's voice cut through the silence, low and sure, and in that instant, everything changed. Morning sunlight spilled through cafe windows, catching the headline plastered across every news screen. Billionaire's Foundation hires former waiter as accessibility ambassador. The photograph beneath showed Jaden standing beside Mr. Cole, both smiling, no spotlight or ego, just quiet pride. Reporters called it redemption. To Jaden, it was simply purpose returning home. New funding poured into community programs, classrooms reopened. Children once silenced by budget cuts now signing stories and songs again. In wide shots of joy, his fingers moved through sentences that carried more hope than any headline could print. Meanwhile, the restaurant that had witnessed his humiliation carried a new sound, respect woven into daily chatter. Waiters spoke his name with admiration instead of pity. "That's Jaden's table," they'd say, straightening silverware. The manager kept his old locker closed, plaque polished. Even customers whispered, remembering the night the quiet man changed the meaning of class. One rainy afternoon, Jaden stopped by to return an apron he'd forgotten to collect. The dining room was quiet, half-lit, music soft. From the doorway, Ethan Cole entered alone. No entourage, no tailored arrogance, just simplicity in place of sheen. He hesitated, then stepped forward, every inch of him unsure. They stood face to face for the first time since the gala. Ethan's hands rose awkwardly, trembling through unfamiliar gestures. "Thank you. I was wrong." His fingers stumbled, but the intent was flawless. Jaden smiled gently, reaching out to guide Ethan's wrists, correcting the shapes with care, teaching through touch, just as he once had with children years ago. Between them, forgiveness formed without a single word spoken. Outside, through the wide window, Mr. Cole watched from his car, pride softening the lines age had carved into his face. He lifted one hand and traced a slow, deliberate sign in the air. Proud. Jaden stepped to the sidewalk, warmth rising in his chest as city lights blinked to life. He paused, feeling the drizzle against his skin, watching taxis stream like fireflies. The sun slipped low, turning every puddle gold. Gentle jazz drifted from the restaurant doorway, hope disguised as melody. The narrator's voice faded in, tender as evening wind. Some conversations need no sound to change the world. In a world obsessed with noise, where power is shouted and empathy goes unheard, silence became the hero. When the night ended, it wasn't applause or money that echoed. It was the calm of a man who refused to mirror cruelty. Jaden's poise stood taller than privilege, his compassion louder than insult. He reminded everyone that real power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how deeply you care. His grace rebuilt what arrogance had broken, a father's bond, a son's conscience, and a community's faith in decency. Through his hands, words became bridges. Through his silence, truth found its voice. The empire of ego fell quietly that night, replaced by something far richer, humanity. As the screen fades to black, 3 words form in glowing sign language: respect, dignity, justice. The narrator's voice softens, full of promise. Share this story if you believe kindness conquers everything. Hit like if Jaden's strength moved you. And subscribe, so more voices like his, silent yet powerful, can be heard across the world. Because greatness isn't in fortune, it's in empathy. And in the language of the heart, everyone deserves to be heard. The frame lingers on Jaden's hands, signing one final word: hope.